the wisdom and experience of Robert Craddock. Hello to you, Crash.
G'day, Gerard. Yeah, plenty happening. It's great.
It is great. Well, shall we get to the business? How close do you reckon they are to finalising their team?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. If they're going to name a squad of 15 for the first couple of tests, and that's the word, that says to me that they aren't sold yet on their 11. Because if you are sold on your 11, you only really need the most 14. You've got to have a concussion sub in there, and Josh Inglis would probably fill that role. But if you go 15, it says that they're really agonising over whether Cameron Green should be in as a specialist batsman up the order if he can't bowl, and we'll find out more in this Shield game coming up this week, or as an all-rounder down the list with Marnus Labuschagne at 3 and a specialist opening batsman, or even a wild card such as Mitch Marsh.
All right, let's peel through those layers, shall we? Is the push for Mitch Marsh real? This is sort of wishful thinking for me.
It is. Yeah, Gerard, I'm not going to say that he's in, but I'm going to say they have had a lot of talk about him. And look, here's a few reasons why I can understand it. One, I reckon English opening bowlers will be the most nervous duo we've seen here for decades. Mark Wood hasn't played a game since February 26, and allegedly he's opening the bowling in the Ashes. Now, just imagine if someone like Mitch Marsh hit his second ball over cover for 4 and his radar scrambled, Wood. You know, he will be so nervous. And the other thing is, it's in Perth. Like, the crowd would go hysterical. And the last reason, Gerard, and last season, if it taught us one thing, it's the value of a disruptor. Like Sam Constas won Australia the Border Gavaskar Trophy. I will not deviate from that. That innings he played rocked India and they never recovered. And so there is that sense of what a disruptor can do. Now, Mitchell's no one idea of an opening batsman in Test cricket. He averages 28 batting down the order. But I can understand why it could be their break the glass option by about the third test if they want something to rattle the show, or it could be the first test. Your feelings?
Yes, I wouldn't play him up front, but he would be ahead of Josh Inglis for me as my reserve batter. So if that's the concussion sub, only because of the form that they're in, Inglis just hasn't had a run at it. Whereas you know how big I am on Inglis. And this time last year, he was in terrific form Sheffield Shield-wise, and I think they were slow to play him. I would have Marsh as my reserve for the time being. And then by Adelaide, you might be interested in Marsh. So my scenario, Crash, is it's one thing for Wood and Archer to start, and I think I would have a proper opener in place for that. But if they are both injured by the third test, then the rest of their attack for me on Australian pitches, they're mincemeat. And if you really want to drive home the advantage, Mitch Marsh might be able to do that. Leave me out of the military mediums.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing is, you must remember too, Mitch Marsh now basically does not bowl. So he has to be considered a specialist batsman, which makes it only more bizarre given his average is beneath 30. But, look, there's little spin-offs with Mitch Marsh, and I'll give you one of them. He's the most popular guy in this team. We've always said he's Switzerland. The bowlers like him, the batsmen like him. So if he's floating around the place, he's adding things to that team, you know, and a soothing force in a mega pressurised Ashes series. You know, that's significant. You know, so there are these little factors, but it would be a quantum decision to throw him in first up. Imagine if it failed. Imagine if he's bowled through the gate, second ball, and his technique is not outstanding against the quickest bowlers. Like the selectors would be on the back foot from ball 2, wouldn't
yes,
they? Like
they
people
would.
say, why did that happen?
Yeah,
but you know what? Hey, but I'll put this to you, Gerard. What would be a pass mark? I reckon if he batted for half an hour and hit 4 fours and scored 28, and loosening and rocked Wood a bit, you know, that could be a pass mark. You know what I mean?
Change the dynamic, take the attack to England. Yeah, I can see how Mitch Marsh would play during the series. Righto. Does Marnus Labuschagne really want to open?
Well, I don't think he does, but I asked him that very question after the last Sheffield Shield game finished on Friday, And he said, that'd be great. And he sort of, he's smart enough to know that there's no point getting a role and saying, no, I'd rather be 3. Of course he'd rather be 3. But he did something I liked on Friday, Gerard. I know this is a small thing, but when he was asked to do a press conference at the end of the day, he could have had a shower, he could have come and seen the media. And he said, oh, no, come straight out. He said, I'll get a few curly ones today. This will be fun. And I like those guys that run towards the fire.
Yeah.
He's a run towards the fire sort of guy. That said to me everything about his attitude this summer, that he's embracing challenges ahead of him. Like in the other dressing room, we asked for Sam Constas. No, he's banned from talking. No, won't talk. Does prohibition ever work in any form of life? I've never seen it,
Yeah.
So I thought that I just didn't agree with that. But, the guys you want in an Ashes series, who is the guy who, when he takes that first step outside the dressing room, he has a look on his face that says, oh, I can't wait for this. This is fantastic. I'm right in the middle of an Ashes. I just love the Ashes.
Yeah.
Not the guy who's going, geez, it's a big crowd, isn't it? My God, wow. Yeah. And they're loud, aren't they? So that's why I think he's ready for the Ashes.
How is Usman Khawaja looking?
Well, he's the sneaky surprise force because he's got a good high strike rate this season and he was the most relaxed person. He opened the batting with Renshaw, who was on trial for a test place, and Usman just looks so much more relaxed and fluent. Not perfect, took a while to get moving, but he's never moved his feet much at all. So I don't mind where he is at the moment, Khawaja. I mean, people are death riding him out of the team and whatever, so it's time. But it's not easy for an opening batsman to have 6 different partners in 2 years. So I wouldn't be surprised if he surprised people this summer.
We don't want Usman Khawaja failing, is regardless of how eager people are to change, not mid-series. That would be a disaster. What do you make of Weatherald / Renshaw? Has either done enough? Can you split them? Will they pick one of them?
Yeah. Look, I just feel that Renshaw, and he's still in the equation. He is bonded with Khawaja. They live 5 kilometres from each other. They see each other all the time. He's been called... They call him the Khawaja's shadow. So there is that. And I've always sort of felt, Gerard, that Renshaw's chance will come when Khawaja retires. Mm-hmm. Probably not beforehand, and that's coming up. That could be 3 months away. So that he becomes the new Khawaja, that sort of anchor man. Would you put them together? Well, even though they're great buddies, I just feel Renshaw hasn't done quite enough. And wherever he goes, I felt Weatherald had him covered. Did you agree with that?
Yep.
I know Weatherald failed twice last week. I get it, and that didn't help him at all. He probably only needed about 70 or 80. But he's had a pretty solid 18 months. Have you got Weatherald ahead of Renshaw?
I do. So when you have to split the hairs, I've always had Weatherald ahead of Renshaw, and nothing this summer has changed that. I didn't like Weatherald at Junction Oval. He didn't bat well in either innings, but he has batted well prior to that. So, and you can still... So this is for the squad. So I would pick Weatherald ahead of Renshaw for the squad, and then there's another Shield game to play before you have to make your decision on your starting 11. So that's where I am. If you had to pick one or the other, who would you go with?
I think Weatherald's ahead of him too. Yeah, I do. And you've got to... I don't mind them deferring to Shield form, but it's not the end of the road for Renshaw, though, if he misses out. Because as I said, they've always had a soft spot for him. He's age 29. He's sort of in that vacuum of where he alone is. There are very few batsmen of that ilk. And he's played 14 tests. And he scored 180 in tests. And so there was something Khawaja said about Renshaw the other day that I liked. And he said, mate, my journey was so similar to Renshaw's, as in A, totally consumed by the game, looking what everyone else is scoring, overstressing, bottoming out with form, then B, getting married, having kids, wisening up. Suddenly you realise there's more to life in cricket, and he said that's where I feel he is at the moment. So, that had something to do with it. But right at the moment, I've got Weatherald ahead of him. Yeah.
Are you worried about Cam Green?
Yeah, just because like what's he bowl, 4 overs or something this season. And it's not, hey, it's not as if they're going into the World Test Championship where it's a one-off test. Like, there's 5 tests in 7 weeks, and he's still not bowled. I know he bowled after stumps the other night, and he will bowl again this week. But, like, if you had Greg Chappell as a guest on your show, and you said, Greg, what do you think of Cam bowling? He would say, and he loves Cam Green. He'd say, I've never liked it. I've always said to these selectors, he's a batsman. He said, don't over bowl him. You know, you'll ruin everything, you know. So the worry with Green, Gerard, is something that no one's talking about, is that there's so much stress and focus on him, and he's a quiet, unassuming lad. And you know, when your every step is being monitored, is he bowling in the nets? Is he bowling in the middle? Is he doing this? Can he stand up? Like, it's a very, very stressful time for that kid, even though he's not doing much at all. And that can take its toll. So, I've always liked him, but I'm concerned that this could grind him down. And that we're talking about him being fit bowling for the first test, but got a bit of news for you. There's 4 of them after that as well.
That's right, yes. So they have to play the long game through the 5 tests, I think. Tell me, so if it's 15, it does actually allow for the bowling bolter. They'll need 2 support quicks. Now, the first of those, I'm sure, will be Michael Neser, and then you're either Abbott or Brendan Doggett. If Doggett got picked for an Ashes squad, that would satisfy the clause of the bolter.
Yeah, I've got Doggett in. I've got Doggett in, and perhaps even Abbott neck and neck with Neser.
Okay.
But Doggett's a great story. He was actually chosen by Justin Langer in his squad 7 years ago and didn't play. And he played for Queensland, and his last ball in the Sheffield Shield final, actually won a final, and him and Nathan McSweeney decided to go to South Australia together. But the interesting thing is that if he played with Boland, it would be the first time ever Australia has had 2 Indigenous players in the one team, and it would improve Australia's representation, which is currently just 2 male Indigenous players out of 400, and I think it's 40 Test cricketers. That's incredible, isn't it? I mean, you no matter how you shape it, 2 Indigenous players out of more than 400 male Test cricketers since the game began about 150 years ago. Like, that's it's a story in itself. But they like Doggett. He's baked in the oven of first class cricket. And his skills are very solid now. And Ryan Harris, the South Australian coach, is a big supporter of his, and that's significant because he was one of the most underrated bowlers of his generation.
You mentioned Constas before, so he was up your way. You saw him. What did you think?
Yeah, he's just on this journey of discovery, and he doesn't know where he is, Gerard. Like, in the first innings, he let a ball go from around the wicket, the new ball go, and it bowled him middle stump. And there's one thing that just clipped the top of off. He thought it would go, top of middle, thought it would go over the stumps. But here's the thing. When a fast bowler is going around the wicket to you, it is a treacherous occupation to try and let anything go because he's bowling into the stumps. And in the second innings, he came down and he just had a slash and was caught at deep mid-off, you know. And yeah, he's still struggling. It's a long way away for him at the moment, Gerard, Test cricket. Sooner or later, a guy like Khawaja will retire. And you know what? Even though I'm saying that he may not play this summer, if he went back and scored 2 tons in a row and Khawaja retired, you know, bang, he could be back again. But he's on a journey of discovery, Sam, and his game just hasn't solidified. That's it. That's the sentence I was looking for.
Yep. That's wisdom and experience all rolled into that judgment right there. So those are the contemplations to be made over this long, long weekend and settle on your Ashes squad. We'll take everyone's on Wednesday morning, I reckon, put them forth and then wait to see what comes officially. So, Crash, I'm sending that to every curator in the country, and the subject line in caps reads, "No roads."
Yes, I mean, Like, if you could put bells and whistles in our program, Gerard, and a siren like the start of the Angels song, this is where you put them in. I mean, you've been saying this for a season. It took me a long while to get across to your review, but you're right. Spicy decks are the way to go. In these 3 one-day games in New Zealand, England v New Zealand, 50 overs, the combined total of the English top 4 was 84 runs. Oh. That is a world record low. And they just couldn't play on seaming decks because, as Brendan McCullum then admitted, they have no first or second gear. So that means in Australia, if we get these spicy decks, they will just get, you won't even have to put a pilchard on the hook. So I know you've been campaigning for it. I thought maybe the other way was best, Gerard. I thought maybe flat decks accentuated the fact that we've got a better bowling attack and it would break their bowling hearts. But I've swung. After seeing this 3-match one-day series when their batsmen, and this included, they had 4 members of their top 6 in there, guys like Ben Duckett and Smith and Joe Root and Harry Brook, who admittedly did rise above it. He scored a century, but the rest of them were awful. And you're right. You must be almost strengthening your conviction that we must have dodgy decks this summer.
Don't let them do it their way. Either watch them perish or make them do it another way, but don't feed what they want. So my view. I think they have corrupted cricket in England by producing those decks instead of the green seamers that cricket on those shores has always been, and they've done it for the strengths of their team. Don't feed that. And then I've been watching Josh Hazlewood bowl across the one-days and the T20s. Just give him something to work with. That batting lineup that England has will not prevail against Hazlewood on seaming pitches. They just will not be able to handle it. And the death or glory, it'll be death if we provide proper pitches.
Yep. We'll see. And I was thinking the other day when I was watching Josh Hazlewood bowling beautifully with the white ball, and he was getting so much bounce in Melbourne, of all places. And I just thought, him versus Ben Duckett in Perth. Now, Ben plays at 90% of balls he faces. He just doesn't leave anything go. And I thought, how in God's name could he get on top of some of these sharp lifters outside off stump? Like, you just back Hazlewood right now. So, yeah, you're right. And I think that what happened on the weekend and in those 3 games, and there's no doubt about it, New Zealand saw they were tailored conditions. Each time New Zealand won the toss and sent England in. So they got the worst of it each time. But it did prove that point to Australian curators, is that that's what you want, spicy decks. And there is a theory, Gerard, that sometimes on spicy decks, the batsmen who attack gung-ho can be lucky and they can get through, but not in a 5-test Ashes series. The percentages will gobble you up eventually.
Yes, and Australia's bowling is better than England's bowling. And who knows who's going, as you've said a few times, who knows who's going to be bowling for England, and notwithstanding the Cummins injury. Let's have the conditions suit the Australian team, not conditions suit the English team. Don't give them what they want. And I know that there have been tickets sold en masse to day 4s of this test series, but I'm not having that. Don't compromise the best scenario for the team versus economics in the front office. Because I tell you what won't work for Cricket Australia as they deal with their, whatever it is, $12 million debt. It won't work to have the Australian cricket team lose the Ashes. That won't work for head office.
No, but hey, I've got to admit, what you have just spotlighted a genuine issue there, though, because Australia's low on cash and they need those 4th days, day 3 and 4. Like there is that. Like and they're sold out days. Like they sort of don't want the test finishing too early. So there is that fine balance. And, the whisper was around everywhere a few months ago that the curators were sort of told, hey, make sure it's not a super short test, thanks. But I think we're all over that theory, Gerard. We want a bit of green deck action.